And finally, Raghida Dergham.
Yes, thank you very much. Raghida Dergham, founder and executive chairman of Beirut Institute. And my question is to both Mr. McGurk and Mr. Schmid. I want to actually be honest with you. I want to chide you. I want to pick a bone with you both, because you have deliberately absented a very important country that is being dismantled, partially and very big partially due to the Iranian influence in it, and that is Lebanon. Mr. Schmid, first, Europe, and particularly Germany, has been practically representing the Iranian interests in the talks, in the nuclear talks, and you speak of your worry about the Middle East problems. There is an abortion of judiciary investigation into the port, the explosion of the port in Beirut, and we don't hear you speak out. You don't really speak out. You didn't even mention. I'm not trying to shame you. I'm trying to say, why on earth do you do that? Why do you think it's agreeable to us that you are falling in love with Iran and falling in hate with us? And Brett McGurk, I mean, we are friends, and I'm going to be honest with you as well. Why wouldn't you even come to the mention of Lebanon when you speak like that? You do know that this country is being dismantled deliberately on every level. You could tell me that the US is trying to help the army there. What? You want to stop at that? Don't you see what else is going on? I mean, you said that no one is asking you to use military force to change Iran's behavior in Lebanon. But don't sacrifice us because of the JCPOA. And take a look at what's happening between Russia and Iran. In the recent conversation between President Putin and President Raisi, they're talking about a pact similar to the one that the Chinese have with Iran. How is that in the US national interest, in the strategic interest? And I ask you that as an American, not only as a Lebanese. Thank you both.
Thank you very much. Well, I think we'll go back again in reverse order for a couple of minutes each. Nils Schmid, Brett McGurk, and Al Hutata. Nils, pick up what you think most important there.
So, well, neither I nor Germany is falling in love with Iran, to be very clear about that. We stated our support for Lebanon many times, and our foreign minister was one of the few European foreign ministers to go to Lebanon after the explosion. And we are ready to assist the Lebanese authorities to fully investigate the background of this explosion. And let me be also very clear that Hezbollah and Iran has been playing a very destructive role in Lebanon for many years. And that's why the current German government confronted Hezbollah by taking measures to rein in Hezbollah activities in Germany. But I must be also very clear about the total failure of the Lebanese elites over the last few years. And there can be no unconditional support from the West for these elites, partly kleptocrats who have been plundering their countries for many years. And that's why, despite all my sympathy with the Lebanese people, I'm advocating that in case that there will be no changes, the EU must think of sanctioning Lebanese officials for their wrongdoings to bring about changes in Lebanon. So, you know, patience is running out with the elites. I think that the next elections, which are scheduled in spring, first of all, should not be postponed and should be the opportunity for political renewal in Lebanon. I agree with my government and the European governments that any financial aid to the Lebanese government must be very tightly linked to reforms. On this two-state solution, we all see that it's maybe not on a deathbed, but implementation of the two-state solution has become more and more complicated. But still, we do not see any better alternative to the idea or the concept of a two-state solution. So I think we should, rather than conceiving of new arrangements, we should rather concentrate on concrete steps of improving Israeli-Palestinian relations and also of improving living conditions in Palestine, which could contribute to make a two-state solution more probable and better to realize in the years to come. The German government will not give up on the two-state solution, and it has the full political backing of all the relevant political parties in the German parliament for that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Brett McGurk.
Rashid, I think I really want to address your question because we didn't mean to not mention Lebanon. So we are very focused on Lebanon. We just sanctioned a slew of corrupt Lebanese officials who are doing nothing to move the country forward. And we're doing what we can with a carrot and stick approach, including working with the IMF to try to pull them out of the economic morass they're in. And yes, doing what we can with the Lebanese armed forces to ensure that that institution remains intact. So there's a lot we're doing, and unfortunately we're almost out of time, but I'm happy to speak with you after the panel.
And last in this round, Raghida Dergham.
Yes, I want to ask actually Minister Zayani regarding the Gulf states' policies on Lebanon. In effect, basically you're just dropping the ball on a country that is being dismantled and being taken away from the Arab embrace, if you will. How is that policy? Is there not a need for a clearer and more constructive, proactive policy regarding a country that is really in front of everybody's eyes, getting kidnapped, if you will? And the same thing to the Deputy Prime Minister of Jordan. Again, you spoke of the proactive diplomacy. I see your proactive diplomacy in reference to Giselle's good question. I see it clear in Syria, almost the rehabilitation of Syria and the rehabilitation of President Bashar al-Assad. But I don't see your proactive diplomacy in saving a country like Lebanon from falling totally into the abyss. Where is your policy on that, other than that initiative to pass the gas and electricity from Egypt through Jordan? This is fine it's really for the benefit of Assad much more than it is for the benefit of Lebanon. Where are you? Can you be clearer on that? Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Lebanon has been or was really a beacon for stability, for prosperity. Every Arab citizen was really looking at Lebanon with admiration. I think the issue now, Raghida, is more of internal diplomacy. The problem is in Lebanon. The diplomacy is, the issues need to be resolved within Lebanon, and we can extend support and trying to find solutions in the future. But once it is demonstrated that Hezbollah can be changing its behavior and changing its and that's what I was talking about, the behavior where it is affecting really not only Lebanon, but also its neighbors and its friends and brotherly states to Lebanon. You're shaking your head. It is a challenge for the Lebanese to really look into changing their policy with Hezbollah and try to find ways where their decisions can be implemented on the ground. We've seen what has happened, and we've seen threatening the Saudis with and our countries with supporting extremists, with detonators, with inciting people for unrest. We've seen it, and it's demonstrated. Also, charging and I mean, allowing the narcotics and drugs to be smuggled. All of that, it's really needs to be altered, changed, and the policy needs to be changed. In that way, Lebanon will be able to, you know, we care about the ordinary people. And even the community, the Lebanese community within our countries are really well looked after, and they are not really affected by what we are in process, and hoping that Lebanon with Hezbollah can really change.
On the issue of Lebanon and the gas and electricity deal, no, with all due respect, no, we did this for Lebanon. There's very little for us in Jordan if you want to sort of quantify the economic return. We did this because we do believe we have to help Lebanon. We need to get to make sure that kids and at schools and hospitals and households have electricity, and that's what we engaged in this deal. And we are proactive in Lebanon. We're trying to help stop the deterioration to the extent that we can. When His Majesty was in Washington earlier this year, a major talking point, a major issue that he raised was Lebanon, because we do not want yet another failed state in the region. And our policy in Jordan has always been, we need to save Lebanon, save the Lebanese people, and prevent them from collapsing further, because that is in the interest of everybody in the region. And therefore, helping Lebanon, helping the Lebanese people, regardless of whatever views we have on certain political components in Lebanon, has been a constant in Jordanian policy. We did try to help to the extent that we can. By the end of the day, we're a small country with not a lot of resources, but we did try to help with medical supplies. We dispatched at some point a field hospital to Lebanon. So whatever we can do, we do. So we are active, but ultimately, and again, it is the Lebanese who will solve their problem. It is not. We are proactive to the extent that we can, but ultimately what is needed is for our Lebanese brother to be able and solve their issues and move forward with steps and measures that would save their country and get them on track.